From the beginning, CAAM's mission to elevate Asian American stories and storytelling really has two goals in mind. And one of them is that our stories are vital to the Asian American community itself, the need we all have to see ourselves represented in media. It centers our experience as citizens. It centers our experience as human beings. The other one, though, is to realize that stories are about a communication between people, between different communities. So we aim our stories at the broadest audience possible, in the belief that stories bind us and bring us closer together, build understanding and empathy and compassion. These are the guiding principles behind all of CAAM's work. We've asked a few of our storytellers to share the ways in which CAAM's support has been important for their development, and also the ways in which they are paying it forward in helping us develop the next generation of Asian American storytellers.
And to here to searching for Cha Jiang-hee.
Yes, I'm searching for Cha Jiang-hee, and I hope to find her. I see CAAM as a place of belonging. It's a place where I really found myself as an Asian American, as a Korean American, and as a filmmaker. I consider CAAM a kind of home for my media work, and I feel so much gratitude that I found CAAM in my 20s and that I continue to have connection with CAAM in my 60s. I think, that kind of longevity is I don't know, it's wonderful. Maybe in my 80s I'll still have connection to CAAM. CAAM also works on a policy level, advocating for more funding, advocating for access to more space in public media, also working with a multicultural alliance so that we're not in our own little silo, that we're working in solidarity with other BIPOC communities. So the policy level, working in that arena, which is less visible, I think, publicly, is really important, and it's very meaningful to me as a filmmaker. Without CAAM, I'm certain that I would have not found a home at PBS for my films. I think there's an idea that our stories are not universal enough to reach a broad public audience, and it was really only through CAAM's support and advocacy and the channels that CAAM had developed over the years that enabled my work to find a place on PBS. Over the last 43 years, the nurturing and the funding, the advocacy that CAAM has done has really helped contribute to kind of this flowering of what we're seeing today in terms of the expanded landscape. Working with the CAAM Fellows gives me a lot of hope for the future. They're each making films of conviction through their unique lens and bringing their whole selves into creating these pieces that they're so passionate about. We, as storytellers, we all have to be committed and passionate about our individual stories. And I see that energy and that commitment with each person. And at the same time, there's an incredible sense of camaraderie and mutual support and mutual aid. This sense of community is really heartening. And I think the more that we can build on that, the healthier our community and community of filmmaker, community of storytellers will be.
It makes the story better when you win.
It was incredible to have JEANETTE Lee versus play at CAAMFest. We played at the same theater that my first film played at, the Great Star Theater in Chinatown, so it was a homecoming for me. And we had JEANETTE Lee there. This film had already actually played on television, and that screening was still sold out. It was a packed room because people wanted to be in community with us, the filmmakers, with JEANETTE Lee herself, and with each other. For my career, CAAM has already supported me in so many ways. I'm trying now, with the experience under my belt, to be a little bit more visible as a filmmaker in the mainstream world. I'm trying to pitch projects that have a little bit more commercial viability so that I can get in front of the bigger audiences. And I think CAAM has already helped me. You've given me a community and a base, and you've put me out there as one of the filmmakers that you trust. And I think that helps me get these other jobs in other places and also speak for the community. I'm a mixed race person from a Chinese American background. The last film I directed was about a Korean American pool player for a really big ESPN series. I think that if I hadn't been co-signed by the community in this way, I don't think necessarily people would put me forth for Asian American stories in general, or stories in general in the same way. But to know that I come sort of with a stamp of approval, I think is very valuable for people in the outside world.
When we were first starting, we were applying for grants and we felt like no one believed us. No one knows about Larry Liang, who led the Delano grape strike, that Filipinos, Asian Americans started the Great Delano grape strike that eventually would create the United Farm Workers. No one knew Asian American story like that. Larry, the musical support from an Asian American community and network that is really vital. Just because this Asian American story almost was shoved to the side by media in the 60s. They didn't want to show Asian faces when they showed the global fight of the United Farm Workers. They showed the global fight of farm workers fighting for their rights. And now we're claiming the story and saying, this is an Asian American story. This is a Filipino American story. And you can't turn us off. We will not be silent any longer. And so it's about joy, it's about resilience, it's about struggle, and it's about saying, we're here. Asian Americans have been here. And we're telling our story in the joyous way possible during challenging times from the past. And I think CAAM was so amazing and so wonderful because they believed in it from the very beginning. And that one yes opens the door to other yeses. And I want to say that that's how CAAM just re-energizes artists and re-energizes their community. And it's that kind of community building and that kind of community that you want to be a part of in your art process, in your art making. And it's so rare to find that.
Now today, in our polarized world, we recognize more importantly than ever that the real core of our work is developing a space and a set of resources for the next generation of filmmakers, for where they will lead us with their stories to a more inclusive nation, a more diverse and yet united nation. And that's the work that I'm most excited about with CAAM.